Okay, so if you are aiming to get to 100K per month in a creator educator business, perhaps you're a coach or a consultant, I'm kind of do a bit of both, I'm like a guide, then at some point you are going to have to navigate what I call the leverage trap. And the leverage trap is what we're going to be talking about today. And it's really critical that you understand the mechanics of the leverage trap because it is a trap and it can be one of the main reasons why people never get to this goal. So I'll walk you through this in a second, but I think it's probably a good idea to start with the idea of defining a word. So we're going to define what leverage means. So I'm going to read out this quote, and it is, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to put it, and I shall move the world." And that was said by some like old dude. His name is Archimedes. He must have been a smart guy because he was the one that came up with this saying. Because I mean, he was pretty confident that he could move a pretty large object with a couple of tools at his disposal, which were a lever and a fulcrum. So a lever is really simple. It's just something that you lean on. But when you lean on it, depending on how long the lever is, you will get an outsized benefit to the amount of energy that you put into the fulcrum. You will get out of it. So basically, the longer the lever, the less energy you have to use to be able to move a larger object or an object at all. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with what is leverage. Essentially, if we're really going to dumb this down, it's how do we get outsized returns from inputting less energy into a system. And so one of the big things that, no doubt you'll have heard the word leverage being thrown around a ton. And it's for good reason, because without leverage, you are essentially just another hamster on a wheel. I think what happens typically is that when people start creative businesses, and especially in kind of the first couple of phases, they feel like they are putting so much energy into the system and they aren't getting any rewards out. And the good news is that that is absolutely the case. And that is the same for everyone starting out. But if you know that, it means that you can navigate it and get through that period of time and be able to get to the other side. So what is the leverage trap? So the leverage trap really is a period of time. So this is the x-axis, which is time. And this is the y-axis, which is money. So up here, we've got about 100K per month, 50K per month, 10K per month. And I'm basing this kind of on what I've seen as a creator, helping lots of creators scale to in between this range. And also myself, my own business. And the leverage trap is this period here, which is the first period that everyone goes through. And what I've typically seen, and this is, talking about things typically, but this period is typically 2 to 3 years. And it's really important to kind of understand that because I think a lot of people, when they are in this period, when they're in the leverage trap, and the reason it's called a trap is because if you fall prey to the trap, you quit and you give up. And all of the energy that you put into the system just gets thrown into the trash can. We don't want that. We want to continue investing energy into ourselves, our business, and everything that we're trying to build, knowing that there is, in fact, a finish line. And this was the case for me. I've actually spoken about this in a couple of videos last year when I was in the leverage trap. And the cool thing is that now I'm not in the leverage trap. I'm in now the period called the leverage payoff. So this is where I have built enough leverage to get a payoff. So this black line denotes linear work. So this is where there's inputs. You input things into a system, and you get 1 + 1, you put one thing into the system, you get one thing out. So let's say, for example, at the beginning of when people start building their creator businesses, one of the most common methods of doing lead generation is cold outreach. So what that means is that you send a message to a potential prospect, and your input is basically completely linked to your output. And so cold outreach is one of those things that is like, it's essentially just a maths game. So the higher the number of DMs or emails that you send to potential people, it is just a maths game where you'll just get a certain proportion actually respond to you, and a certain proportion will then convert into paying clients and customers. Now, what I've managed to get to is a place where I have built leverage over the past 2 years, and I have now entered the leverage payoff, where the leveraged work, so the work that I've done at the beginning during this first kind of like 2-year period, felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. So as you can see here, as I was building leverage work, what in fact happens is that you end up putting more energy into the system, and you feel like you're getting even less rewards than you would expect. And so this is why it's a trap, because especially in these first 2 to 3 years, people just feel like it's so hard, and they are wondering why, because especially on social media, they're seeing everyone else's success. They're seeing everyone's successes on social media. They're maybe looking at me and they're like, oh, but it's easy for you to say you're doing 100K a month. And it's like, well, it wasn't long ago where I wasn't doing 100K a month. I was doing like 4K a month. And that was like 2 years ago. And so this has kind of played off. And one of my clients, Frederick in Scale 20, he actually mentioned, he said, Tom, like a couple of weeks ago, he's like, Tom, you predicted, so we are currently in June 2025, and in, I think, September or October 2024, last year, so about 9 months ago, I made a video about this to my clients, and I was like, hey, by the way, it typically takes 2 to 3 years to reach this point, which is escape velocity, where you've compounded enough leverage work where things start to pay off. And about 6 months ago, or 9 months ago, I said to my clients, I was like, I think I'm about here right now. And this was in maybe October last year. And I had no reason to, explain why that was. I mean, it was just a gut feeling. I felt like I was really close to reaching escape velocity. And then the cool thing is once you do reach escape velocity, things move exponentially. So I'll give you an example. So for me, I hit like 70K. So about 70K in December 2024. And then in April 2025, so a couple of months ago, I hit 160K in my business, which is up here. And so if we keep on drawing that blue line, you can see it goes up there. And so within the space of like 4 months, I had exponentially grown, where I had actually been through this period where I knew, I had faith and I had belief that I was building leverage, and that at some point I would reach escape velocity and enter the leverage payoff period. But the truth is that this period is fucking brutal, because every sign and signal suggests that things aren't going well, or things are actually really hard. So in this period there are a couple of like kind of examples that I'll give. So in this period when you're starting, and by the way, just to be really clear on this, the 2 to 3 years is, in my opinion, is when you are focused on one offer, helping like a very specific type of person or achieve a very specific type of result. This is not chopping and changing like a fucking coked up rat every 6 months, changing your offer, which is what a lot of the kids in Dubai do. But don't do that. So what we want to do is we want to stick with one offer, one core offer, and we want to build leverage over this period. And And so it doesn't mean your offer can't evolve. So I had many evolutions of my offer, but it ultimately targeted the same type of person looking to get the same type of result in the same kind of industry. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm helping people lose 10 pounds of weight this month, and then in 6 months' time, I'm like, hey, if you want your roof changed, I'll help you out. So that's the key thing to note here, is that we're not chopping and changing who we're trying to serve. But if you can stick with serving the same person for 2 to 3 years, same business, same person, trying to get the same outcome, what actually happens is during this period, you build mastery. And the reason why you reach escape velocity is because you become a master. And this is really important. This is really important because, like, ultimately, this is the sign of being in the top 1% of your market. And for those of you who are new here, hey, hopefully going to be your new best mate. But if you know who I am already, then you know that I am already your best mate. But this is who I help. I help people become the top 1% in their market with my Growth Accelerator Scale 20. So I help creators who have already got traction, so they're in this period, but I help them get to here and then smash the fuck through here. And so the truth is that I help a lot of my clients navigate this period, navigating the stress, the frustration, the worry, the fear that things aren't going to work out. And I help them actually basically with all the systems, and help them mainly with having clarity on exactly what they need to do to get to this point, so they can just go straight up and just live in the leverage payoff. And so when you give enough time, what happens is you become a master. And when you become a master, that's when you can start charging higher than market rates for the services that you provide. And what happens then is it's a snowball effect where people see that you're charging more, and because this is human nature to associate more expensive things with higher quality and higher likelihood of success, you end up actually having a snowball effect where more people want to work with you. And so that's why it's super important to get to this point, because then that's when you can double your pricing, because you've got proof of concept, you've got case studies, you've got testimonials. But this is the period where you have to build all of that stuff. This is where most people fuck up, is that they instead of focusing on the most important thing during this period, which is client results, they try and they are trying to focus on scaling. They're like, I need to scale, I need more clients, I need more blah, blah, blah. And they don't. They need to sit, they need to bathe in this period, and they need to they get familiar with this feeling of like discomfort, not having shitloads of money roll in, sacrificing like things that they love to be able to reinvest it either into their education or into their business. And what they do is they try and chase scale. They try and go like this. They try and go up here like that. And instead of focusing on the most important thing, which is getting people and businesses actual results. And once you've built this period, you get to the escape velocity where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this person can actually help me get this result, because this period is the proof building period. And this is where you have to put in the hard yards. You have to do the unscalable things. You have to really focus in on helping your clients win, how you can make them win faster, how you can make them win bigger. And that's when you get to this period where all of a sudden you've built enough proof where things start to take off. Now, a couple of areas where you will have higher outsized returns from your inputs. There is one absolute mother of an input that has high leverage returns, and which has really been the core foundation of my business, which is what you're seeing right now. It's long form content. And the cool thing is that nowadays, long form content is just like easier than ever to start. And like this is budget ads, right? Like I'm just on a whiteboard, and there is no production value here. The mic costs like $100. it's so accessible to people now. So this is why I've been making content for 2 years, long form content. I've actually on my main channel, on Tom Young's channel, I've been documenting this literally since day one of starting my business in August 2023. So I've literally done this. I've shown you guys how to do this, which is kind of cool. So that's why it's kind of cool for my client to be like, hey, Tom, you actually predicted where you were. And yeah, hopefully you can navigate the leverage trap too. If you want, I share kind of like insiders insights kind of a few times a week in a newsletter, kind of like in just real-time updates on what I'm up to and kind of lessons that I'm learning growing a business. You can sign up for it just down in the description. So yeah, you want to get to there, you need to navigate this so you can get to here. And if you want to know how I've done it, go watch this video here. That was sick. See you in the next one.